And hello, are we on? Yeah, I think we're on. All right, well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this very first episode of a new channel that I have just launched right now called Astro 400. This is the maiden voyage, the prototype, the pilot, trial audience, and all of that. First, I would like to say tonight I'm going to be drinking some Chipotle iced tea. That might look kind of backwards for you guys, but thank you to Chipotle all the same. You ever notice how those famous channels have like sponsorship and stuff? Nothing like that. I mean, absolutely not. But yes, welcome to Astro 400. My name is Ned. I'm the host of another channel called Black Box Online Radio, and I talk a lot about true crime, serial killers, and the Zodiac Killer. So because I mentioned quite a few things about the Zodiac Killer over the years, I got very curious about astrology. I mean, I guess my journey with astrology really begins in about 2012, 2013, 14. And I noticed some things about it that I never heard other people talk about. And that was the connection between astrology and personality. Yeah, okay, you're going to find all these websites that are saying these things about personality traits, but I hadn't found anything that had actually aligned with my observations that I just learned about from talking to people in my daily life. In about, what was it, maybe 2017, I was listening to an interview that Daniel Pipes had done. He is the author of a couple books about conspiracy theories and politics. He covers a lot of subjects. And he wrote a book called Conspiracy. Can't put this stuff down, I'm addicted. Conspiracy came out in 1997. And he said with astrology, at first you have to accept the initial premise that the alignment of the stars on the day that you are born affects your mood, your temperament, your sexuality even. And I didn't quite agree with that. I mean, firstly, he's being very skeptical of it, and he's saying all these things because he wants to be critical of astrology. The observations that I found about astrology are something quite different. It's more about not the stars and even the constellations, but one single star, our sun. And I began to develop this hypothesis that your birthday is recorded. We know which day we are born. And is there an effect on psychology that comes from anticipating the changes in the seasons in relation to the day of our birth? Like, if you're born in the spring, which I was, then are you going to anticipate the summer in a different way and the winter in a different way? And is that going to do something to the way that you're thinking and the way that you're making decisions in life? And you absolutely the contrary to somebody else who was born in the winter, and the way they think about their birth date in relation to the seasons. So that's the way that I view astrology. Nothing about how the stars have this ability to control you, or that you have to have this type of personality coming from the constellation itself, or even as Daniel Pipes said, the alignment of the stars on the day that you were born affects your mood, your temperament, and your personality. I mean, it's possible. Anything's possible, right, in the grand spectrum of possibilities. But the things that I wanted to talk about were much more associated with the cycles and the seasons and the changes. So here on Astro 400, I'm going to be talking all about the individual star signs. And we're going to begin with Gemini. This is my star sign, so might as well cover all the bases. And I will share some things with you that I've noticed over the years. Now, this is not going to be 100% perfect. It's not going to be pure science. It's not going to be something that is going to be so 100% certifiable that I can publish this in some type of academic journal. Instead, I want to share some things that are about my own experiences, these types of behaviors that I've known, the patterns, the trends, the similarities that are happening in all of these different star signs, and how could this actually be affecting people's personality? Nothing about like psychic powers. I don't even want to touch on that subject. Instead, I want to talk about this, the anticipation in the changes of the seasons in relation to somebody's birth. So first we're going to begin with something about Gemini. What are Gemini personality traits like? And just the absolute first one that came up on a search result is from something called prepscholar.com. Geminis are adaptable, it says. this one's important for me because I'm a Gemini, and when I was in high school, we had this kind of psychological activity that we were doing in one class. It was in psychology class, and the teacher said, write down some adjectives that you would use to describe yourself. The first one I wrote down was adaptable. I absolutely agree with this. And you can think about this. Try to think of some people that you know who have the Gemini personality. Think of some people who have the Gemini star sign. And that, of course, is going to be May 21st to June 21st. And my birthday is actually May 26th, the same birthday as John Wayne, Lenny Kravitz, Iron Chef Morimoto, and some other people who might also be famous. But yes, adaptable. I do think Geminis are adaptable in some ways because being an adaptable person means that you have a whole host of other issues to look out for, a whole host of other issues that are going to come along with that. Because being an adaptable person is very good for working individually. Yes, yes, that's right. And if you're good at working individually, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be good at working as a team player. That has held me back so much because when you're an adaptable person, okay, a problem happens, you respond to it. Oh, well, we'll just do something different. I will just do something different. But when you're part of a team and a problem happens, people don't just say, oh, well, let's do something different. No, they say, hey, you, whoever you are, it's your fault. And then not everyone is going to be an adaptable person. So with Geminis, I can agree with this that they are adaptable, but that also means that maybe not the best team players. And another challenge for adaptable, thoughtful people who are introspective and so on, they're quite difficult to be in relationships with. This is my star sign we're talking about, and I'm going to do all 12 of these, so it's a great opportunity for you guys to like and subscribe so you can follow along and hear about your star sign or any of the other star signs out there. But this is my star sign. It's difficult to be in a relationship with somebody, whether it's a friendship, romantic relationship, any type of interaction with someone who is very thoughtful, emotional, sensitive, introspective, all of that. Because first, they make a mistake. And then they're like, oh, well, it's okay. Ah, so they think there's no problem then. They propose a solution. Then they recognize, people like me, I recognized a year later, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. They were right to do the thing when the mistake happened, and they were right to find the solution, and they were right to feel bad about it after the fact. So I I've dealt with that firsthand, and it's not the easiest thing in the world, but adaptable. The second characteristic that the Prep Scholar has for Geminis is outgoing. There's a reason why I'm talking to you like this now. Outgoing, absolutely. I mean, for me, though, as someone who is also adaptable, if somebody else is more talkative than I am, I never want to be louder than them. And I think maybe other Geminis would want to share this too. I will probably try to sometimes match somebody's level of talkativeness, or then if they're extremely talkative, I'll retreat backward and then try not to say anything else. Because, I mean, there's a some kind of a parallel between adaptability and agreeableness. And when I say agreeableness, I mean not like pleasant behavior, but agreeing to go along with somebody else's requests, or when somebody makes a command, you agree to go along. Somebody once described that as submissive. And I don't think it's quite submissive because there has to be a differentiation. Submissive, I think, is more about physical things, whereas agreeableness is more about emotions. Now, the next one they have here, indecisive. Oh no. Do not ever think that Geminis are indecisive. No, siree, Bob. Instead, a Gemini might not always reveal their plan. They might not always be sharing their game plan with you, but indecisive. As a Gemini, I always know exactly what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, all of it. And I've seen this with other people who have this Gemini star sign because I met somebody who was a Gemini. I think her birthday was June 9th, and we're just talking about like, hey, what's your plan for this and that? And she's like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. But then she did reveal she knows her plan. She knows exactly what she wants to do, when she wants to do it, how she wants to do it. She's just not saying it immediately. Geminis are not indecisive. I don't think so, anyway. Instead, I think they are, I guess you'd say, secretive could be one, but maybe it's more just like about not revealing things. Because back when I had that experiment in high school, which not really an experiment, but a group activity, where you just write down the adjectives that you would use to describe yourself. Number one, I said was adaptable, right? Exactly in line with this. I kid thee not. Number one on Prep Scholar says adaptable for Geminis. But the second one that I put was undivulged. Nice high school vocabulary word, and I'm not being silly or anything. That's what it was. It was one of our vocabulary words for the month at the time. But yes, you're not revealing things immediately. And something else, though, that I've noticed about Geminis, which is not from any website, is that Geminis do not seem to get mad right away. And if you agree or disagree with anything that I say, please put your ideas in the comments section below. Share anything that you want. Share anything that you like. If you want to challenge me on any of these points, write out your message in the comments section below. I'm always open to hearing a different side of the story. But in terms of this type of behavior, not getting mad right away, well, what would that mean? That means that something's going to happen. Maybe somebody makes a comment that they don't like. Maybe somebody makes an insult, or somebody even does something bad, like stealing a small item or something of that nature. And then the Gemini, the adaptable person, the agreeable person, is going to be like, okay. And then 2 months later, they get mad. You'll just get a text message or something. Hey, you big jerk, you did this. And I've been on the receiving end of this, and I've been on the sending end of this. As someone who is a Gemini, I've absolutely done this. And as somebody who has had Gemini friends where they're just like, you're a big piece of garbage. Well, what did I do? If you're somebody who does not get mad about things right away, it's really quite difficult because when you're on the receiving end of it, you're just like, okay, I can see that you're mad about something, but what is it? And even if they tell you it's that thing that you did 2 months ago, you're like, well, it's so far gone in your memory. You're just like, it feels so insignificant to the person who did whatever action it is that they're talking about. Then you've already kind of moved on from that. But that's something that I've known, and I've experienced that from people, multiple people who have the Gemini star sign. And I'm a Gemini, and I've experienced that firsthand. Maybe I have not been mad right away, but I'd actually like to go on to a different website because we can listen to, more than one source and just go through all of these. This one is called astrologyzodiacsigns.com, and it says the traits of Gemini are gentle, affectionate, curious, adaptable. There's that adaptable again. Ability to learn quickly and exchange ideas. Oh, now let's get to weaknesses. Nervous, inconsistent, indecisive. I do not think Geminis are indecisive. I've met many Geminis. My best friend growing up was a Gemini as well. He was not indecisive. I was not indecisive. Um, Nervous. Does it get hot in here? Oh, yeah, sometimes you get nervous and such, but overall, I don't necessarily. Okay, fine, Geminis are nervous. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why they're being secretive. That's why they aren't revealing things because, well, it's a game plan, it's a playbook. Or here's what people like to do in relationships, astrology or not. They will tell you the problem or they will tell you the solution. They're not going to tell you immediately. Why? Because some people will say, well, I'm waiting for the right time. That's the game that they're trying to play. I'm waiting for the right time. But it's also about how can I manipulate the situation to my advantage? How can I read the game? How can I play my cards right so I can do what I want, remain in somebody's good graces, and just have the ability to do things without getting in trouble, without getting punished, or without losing the relationship, without having the bridge burned. I don't even think that's astrological. But this one also has the thing. Geminis are inconsistent. Yeah, all the people that I'm thinking about, all of these mental anchor points that I have about the Gemini star sign. Yeah, Geminis are fairly inconsistent. So that's that. And then we have Geminis like music, books, magazines, chats with nearly anyone. It says, wow, short trips around the town. Yeah, I'm somebody who says I don't like to go hiking. I like to walk to the park though. I could see that. And short trips around the town. I would also agree that that's correct. Magazines, though, they're a dying art, but I absolutely love magazines. Now, here's some things that we get to challenge. The things that the Gemini dislikes, according to astrologyzodiacsigns.com: being alone, being confined, repetition, and routine. With every single Gemini that I've met, there is a rather strong balance between introversion and extroversion. Every single Gemini that I can think of has had this type of connection to introversion. Somebody posted something on Facebook once saying that I used to think that I was an introvert because I hated people, but I now realize that I was an introvert because being alone was the only time I felt that I was at peace. If I'm around other people that I feel at peace with, I don't feel so introverted. I become, much more talkative. And introversion can work in a couple different ways. John Sonmez of Bulldog Mindset said very clearly that introversion doesn't exist. Everybody is an extrovert. He's like, if you get somebody to start playing their favorite game, no matter what it is, and they start winning, you're going to see their extroverted side come out. They're going to be like, yeah, I'm winning, I'm awesome, all of that stuff. But the psychologist Jordan Peterson has somewhat of a counter point to that, even though I learned about Peterson's before I learned about Sonmez. And he says that introversion and extroversion function differently. It's like an introvert can go to that party, they can play their game, they can be all outgoing, yeah, I'm winning, I'm awesome. But then they don't want to go outside for 2 weeks. They don't want to see anybody for 2 weeks. They need that me time, that alone time. I mean, the vast majority of Geminis that I've known throughout my life who've had that kind of end of May to mid June, end of June, thereabouts, that star sign, who have been born in like the spring, just getting to the summer, they've all been very balanced. Like they can be extroverted and they can be introverted. I once took a test. Actually, I did it twice, the introvert extrovert test, and it kind of ranks your levels of introversion and extroversion as divided by 100. When I was back in high school, in that same class that we did the word games with, I scored a 27 on an extroversion test, meaning that I was extremely introverted. I'm horrible at math. 20. So 73% introverted. Did I do that right? I don't know any math. But when I took that again, years later, like I think even after college, my introvert extrovert score really, really balanced. It just kind of leveled off. And then my introversion score was 53, and that meant that my extroversion score was 47. So that's the way that I tend to think about most Geminis. And I do agree with that person who was saying that it's just about feeling at peace. Peace is also connected to adaptability. Peace is also connected to agreeableness. You can look this up when you read about the big five personality traits. Agreeableness is a peacemaking trait. You want to end the conflicts, you want to balance things out. And I'm not saying that Geminis are purely agreeable. In fact, some of them are very disagreeable, or better yet, they can be agreeable and disagreeable at certain times. I was listening to the YouTuber Mandy Grossman, who talks a lot about true crime, particularly the Son of Sam murders that occurred in the 1970s. As I said, I host Black Box Online Radio True Crime Program. If anyone would like to visit that channel, you're welcome. Although it is a podcast, not like video or anything, but maybe in the future. And I was following a lot of Manny Grossman's videos, and he said that he was a Gemini who was born on the cusp of Taurus. Prior to Gemini, we have Taurus, and I will share some amazing secrets with you about the sign of Taurus, stuff that will absolutely just blow your mind. So please tune in for that episode. And what he said is a Gemini who's born on the cusp of Taurus has a very large desire for stardom, star power. And I began to notice this, that I definitely had that characteristic. I'm actually born pretty close to the cusp of Taurus. As I said, my birthday's May 26th. So, what exactly would that mean? Not everybody wants to be famous. Not everybody wants to be the star, to be the celebrity, to be that center point of positive attention. Like we're talking about recognition and notoriety. Some people always say, oh, this person is an attention seeker. No. Are you an attention seeker? You can write that in the comment section. I'm not. I'll do this little web show thing, but am I looking for attention? No. My response to that very simply is, if I wanted attention, I would paint myself yellow, run up and down the streets in my underwear. That's attention. Attention is just like you're getting people to look at you. I don't think so. Recognition, notoriety, those things are quite different. With this desire for fame and stardom, not everybody has that because, when I was back in high school, I was talking to people about, the future and so on, and I'm asking them, would you ever like to be a rock star? And they're like, no, not really. Would you ever like to be a movie star? No, not really. And this was the most shocking one of all. When I'm asking guys, like, would you ever want to be a porn star? And they're like, no. I'm like, would you ever do a porno, like, even once? I don't think that's me, dude. And I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's just like mind-boggling. Granted, though, there is this kind of media presentation about men that men always have to be in the mood for that, but there is something about that, though. Certain people have this desire for fame and stardom and recognition and notoriety, and they really want to zone in on that. So I guess you'd say I absolutely disagree that Geminis like to be alone. I absolutely disagree that Geminis like to be confined. Repetition and routine are amazing. And if anything, those are that's what adds structure to your life. That's what adds positivity to your life. You wake up at this time, you go to work at this time, you come home and get your Chipotle iced teas at this time. And in fact, this can actually provide a lot of security for people, the things that they know how to anticipate. Now, there's another source here that is from Cosmopolitan, is that their first description of a Gemini is they exude positive vibes. Well, yes, of course, if I don't say so myself. No, but sure. I mean, why not though? Okay, I gotta be serious with you. With most of the Geminis that I have known, they don't exude positive vibes. If anything, they're very, very negative. It's just as I said, they don't reveal their playbook immediately. So once you truly get to know them, you'll find that they are pessimistic or controlling or unenthusiastic, if that is even a word at all. Like they aren't so up for things that aren't outside of their own control. Maybe it's true then they don't like to be confined, but I don't think confined is the right word. If anything, though, I think that it's more about they're adaptable for themselves. We are adaptable for ourselves, I should say. But let's read this Cosmopolitan article, and it's actually from Cosmopolitan UK. Geminis are born between May 22nd and June 22nd and belong to the air element along with Libra and Aquarius. They are super fast. How do you know that Geminis are fast? What? Super smart, super adaptable. Okay, that's like the consistent thing. And I did say that I agree with that. Yep, all of that. And super curious people. And I think that curiousness can be tied to that type of openness to experience, like this desire for stardom. You're curious, what would it be like if I were a celebrity, if I were a rock star, if I were a movie star, if I were a porn star, all of that. All of this superness makes them fascinating to be around. Usually only for short spells, though. I'll say something about that in just a second. A, they can wear you out. B, they get easily distracted. And is there a C? No, just A and B. Thank you, Cosmopolitan UK. All right, though. I said this, though, a couple years ago. I should have been a restaurant host, not a server. I was a server in a restaurant for a month. I was terrible at it. Not a cook. Ugh, I'm not good at that either. I was a restaurant cook, though, in a different lifetime. I mean that metaphorically. Like, I mean, you get the idea. But a host was because I noticed that I really had this connection with people for these very short increments. Maybe even like the call center person who's just helping you solve a problem. I also thought about that because that's all about being warm, welcoming. You don't hate people, mm-mm. But instead, it's about a short term interaction. Once you have these long term relationships, then that's a whole different set of conflicts, my friends. Because this person's personality might wear on you a bit, or certain behaviors that were once tolerable at the beginning. Maybe you even accepted a certain set of behaviors from somebody at the beginning, but after a month, you're just like, I'm trying not to explode on this person, but they're really getting on my nerves. So, there's that. But, okay, that's some of just, maybe that's a little bit too much of my own firsthand experience, but it is lined up here that Geminis are fun to be around only for short spells. Long-term relationships are hard to hold down for me, and all those Geminis that I was talking about earlier, they weren't good at holding down long-term relationships. That best friend that I had, who was also a Gemini, I don't talk to him at all. And I wouldn't. He had a few traits that were, yeah, they were a little bit super, but they were also, as I said, horribly pessimistic, horribly unenthusiastic. He was only enthusiastic for things that were of his own design, even if it was destructive, or if it was uneducated, or if it was just simply based on incorrect information. He didn't really care. It's just, oh yeah, I like this or something. I mean, maybe if I drop this cup, it'll float in the air. And it didn't. But let's keep going in the article here, Cosmopolitan UK. Geminis like variety, keeping their options open, having lots of opportunities to go, and being in the know about anything, everything, and everyone. Notorious gossips. They are generally kind, but there is a slither of the psychopath in them. I'm not a psychopath, I'm a narcissist. It's a different thing. A chilliness and detachment to emotion created by the air element. This is why I wanted to talk about that connection to the seasons. Being born in the spring, right on the cusp of summer, the element is air. It's almost as if there is this type of, I guess you would say, gearing toward a shift from optimism to pessimism, because all of those Geminis that I was just talking about who are unenthusiastic and pessimistic, they were all born after me. I mean, their birthdays were like June 4th and then June 9th, and I think one was even June 17th. So actually, two of the people that I was thinking about had the same birthday. Somebody just that I developed a pen pal relationship had the birthday of June 4th, and my best friend growing up had the birthday of June 4th. I'll also talk about that in future episodes, particularly in the one on Taurus and the one on Leo, but I'll share some of it anyway, not to give away too many things that are going to sound repetitive if you listen to all of these videos. But I began to notice that I was attracting certain types of behavior from people, like certain birthdays were becoming very repetitive, down to the day. As I just said, you meet a pen pal who has the same birthday as your childhood best friend. But that's happened so many times, developing relationships with people who have the same birth date. And I began to notice, why am I attracting these different clusters of birthdays and not attracting anybody from these other months? I mean, why is it people from June and August and November and so on? So we'll talk much more about that in the Taurus and Leo episode, so please tune in for those. To get an idea of the classic Gemini personality traits and types, we need to only look at the most famous twins, the star signs. Oh, these are the famous celebrities who are Geminis: Kanye West, Kylie Minogue, Tupac Shakur, Marilyn Monroe, Angelina Jolie, and Donald Trump. Oh, I didn't know that Donald Trump was a Gemini. They all have big personalities. All right, but lots of people have big personalities. I'm not really impressed by something like that. But here, though, if the jack of all trades, master of none apply to a sign, then it's a Gemini. Somebody actually did describe me as that. They referred to me as a jack of all trades, master of none. So, yeah, there we go. This, how do they fucking know all of this stuff? People would say that to me, but not in a good way. Some people think it's a good thing. Like, how the fuck do you know all this stuff? Like, there'll be this kid in elementary school who, oh, he's like the class encyclopedia. Or some adults carry that behavior on into, well, adulthood, and they become, oh yeah, he's the guy that just talks about factoids, and it's really cool. I never had any of that. People are more just like, you just trying to show off, you're boring. I said that about some other Geminis too, so maybe there's some truth to that. Okay, well, it's not as clever as it looks, it says about Geminis. They skim read, yeah. They acquire tidbits of knowledge, yeah, like the mercurial magpie, but it only reaches skin deep. Their interest rarely lingers long enough for them to truly delve into one subject. Well, I did start a true crime channel, did that for about 4 years now. I'm doing this one. Point taken. After this video, I'm going to go like rethink my life and such. Thanks, Cosmo UK. But the final thing that they say here is that Geminis can be somewhat ruthless. I think that people who are born in the earlier part of the Gemini, that kind of Taurus leading into Gemini, are definitely more empathetic. And then once you get past maybe the early part of June, then people seem to become, as I said, a little bit more. What would be a word for like unempathetic or something, where they are just becoming lower in agreeableness, lacking empathy and fairness, and then they begin to get a little bit more connected to this type of ruthless behavior. But I definitely don't think that's true for the people that I've known who have birthdays like May 21st or 22nd and so on. So let's go on to a different source though, and this one is called Ganesha Speaks. Oh, maybe it's one from like India or something. Yeah, ganeshaspeaks.com. Gemini traits. Geminis are sociable, talkative, and love to be surrounded by interesting people all the time. All the time? Well, everything else is said that it's Geminis are well, if they're adaptable, then yeah, okay. I mean, they're going to be agreeable, and they gotta have somebody to agree with, I suppose. Surrounded by interesting people all the time. I mean, I guess that's kind of fair, but I guess you don't want to be around boring people. That's not really that informative. Geminis are passionate, easygoing beings. As I said in the beginning part, like the end of May, once you get to the beginning of June, depends on what your definition of passionate is. Easygoing? Actually, I take that back. The Geminis that I've known are usually passionate about something, as I said, that's internal. Like, they have their playbook, their battle plan, their game that is in their mind. And that includes me. That includes Iron Chef Morimoto and John Wayne. They know what they want. So there is that, though. Yeah, Geminis are passionate. I agree with that. But easygoing? Not all of them. Not all of us. They're always ready for an adventure or an intellectual conversation. Intellectual conversation, yes. Adventure, no. They are ruled by the planet Mercury. Cool. Now, as I said, I don't really get too much into that stuff. I think it's much more about the sun and the changes in the seasons that affects your personality. So they are fast, humorous, and efficient while communicating with others. Yeah, I guess so. I guess so, but that doesn't mean likability and charismatic. No, Being able to communicate your ideas does not make you charismatic, my friends. Gemini individuals are fun loving, but like every star sign, Gemini possesses a few weaknesses. It's part of the reality. Every human being and thing inherits positive and negative qualities. Here are some of the negative traits of Gemini: superficial, backstabber, lack of direction, bad decision making skills, and anxious. I mean, anxious at some points, not all the time, or okay, I mean, they just want to mean that you experience anxiousness and anxiety. Okay, sure, fair enough. Superficial. What is this overwhelming thing about how Geminis are just this jack of all trades, master of none? You'd have to think that that's. I know somebody described me that way once, but is that really fair? I don't know. I think that one might be somewhat of a stretch. Backstabber. What on earth are you talking about? Stabbing somebody in the back? Okay, sure. Who hasn't had their moments of unfairness, or they did something that was beneficial to them? As I said, you got your own playbook, so you're doing something that is in your favor and not somebody else's favor. But that's not necessarily backstabbing. That's just having an agenda. Like, I want to advance in my career. That doesn't mean I'm ruining your career. Or I want to go to a particular restaurant on Friday night. It doesn't mean you're never gonna do anything that you want. I don't think those exactly are the same. Lack of direction. If you take anything away from this video here, this type of recording, it is that it's not lack of direction. Every single Gemini I've ever met knows what they want. They know how and what they want to do. They're just not giving you all of the pieces of the puzzle immediately. The positive traits they have here are flexible. Yep, that's all about adaptability. Outgoing. As I said, balanced. Introversion and extroversion. Those are both present in Gemini personalities. Funny. Ah ha ha. No, no. I'm never funny. Enthusiastic. No. Something about the month of June makes people unenthusiastic. Smart and versatile. Yeah, versatility, flexibility, all of that comes in together. Now, this is actually kind of a nice one. This Ganesha Speaks gives little paragraphs that are based on all of the different adjectives that they have used. So let's hear their enthusiastic section because I did want to challenge them on that. You are enthusiastic. Oh, I mean, you referring to Geminis. I'll just keep it in the same tone or same pronoun or something like that, whatever kind of word that is. Geminis are enthusiastic noun pronoun. I don't know anything about grammar either. Geminis are enthusiastic and full of life, and always crave for accomplishing new and interesting things. That sounds like high trait openness. However, their enthusiasm is infectious at times. You're always a little ahead of others. They are always a little ahead of others. I want to, whatever. They are always a little ahead of others so that they can discover everything at least once in a lifetime. Their mind is always working fast, and they share their thoughts with people who are around them. Well, I think you can already tell I'm going to disagree with half that sentence and agree with half of that sentence. To have a mental playbook that you're not sharing with people means that, yeah, you're going to have to be thinking and kind of like fast thinking, up to date thinking, as well as calculating, trying to decide your moves in the mental chess game of life. Geminis will do that. But this whole thing about that they share their thoughts with people around them, I disagree. I strongly disagree with that. And as I said, maybe it's about approaching the summer solstice or something, and things are just getting fired up. And this person's getting fired up, but the summer hasn't started yet, so they just hold in all that tight energy, mental energy, actually. I mean, I pointed to the heart, but it was actually the brain. So the next one that I want to read here actually says, and this is the same article from ganeshaspeaks.com: manipulator. Geminis will compliment others on their face and whisper true feelings behind their back. Who hasn't done that once in their lifetime? Geminis have a dark side. critics and negative things they conform to say about others. Geminis will speak the things that other people want to hear to their face and not what they feel. Geminis may even sugarcoat things with lies and spread it just to make it interesting for others to listen. Geminis are masters of manipulation and things in order to make others follow in their shoes. I'm beginning to think that this person just had a really bad experience with a Gemini or something. Like, I don't know who wrote this article, if it's a man or a woman. They have like a bad relationship or something, a bad ex-boyfriend girlfriend story that they're not telling us. Whew, that's a pretty harsh hit job on people like me, and if you're a Gemini as well listening to this. So let's look at this piece by piece. Complimenting others to their face and whisper true feelings behind their back. Yeah, but also sometimes you think that that's the mood of on the nature of the conversation. Adaptability and flexibility are going to get you to reveal different types of personalities, and if that is connected to trait agreeableness, you're agreeing to go along with that type of behavior. So that could be something like that. It's not really as evil as it's making out to be. Had they Geminis have a dark side? Sure. They said psychopath earlier. You see, it's my understanding that a psychopath is someone who is more or less born without a conscience, but they're actually 20 different items on a checklist that psychologists use, and you get a total score of 40, maximum score of 40 actually on the hair checklist. They have 20 items that are scored at 0, 1, and 2, and then if your score is 30 or higher, then you are deemed a psychopath or a sociopath. Psychopath, meaning that you're born with it, and then sociopath, meaning that you acquired it later in life because of the social surroundings, because of society. Sociopath. And then all sociopaths and psychopaths are narcissistic, but not all narcissists are sociopathic or psychopathic. And this is actually relative to the amygdala in the brain. For psychopathic serial killers, people who are very, very low in agreeableness and these backstabber, two-faced individuals who are living this double life that Ganesha is actually talking about, they have an amygdala that is 17% smaller than a normal functioning human being. Like if you can just have like median, normal. A psychopathic serial killer, maybe you think about Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, Joel Rifkin, their amygdala would perhaps be 17% smaller. An anti-psychopath, someone who would score as close to zero as possible on that checklist, has an amygdala that is 8% larger. The amygdala is very powerful. So, and I cite Dr. Laurie Santos for the stuff about the anti-psychopath, and you can even go back to Black Box Online Radio and hear my whole presentation on the brain of a serial killer. So this is relative to a lot of things about emotion and the processing of empathy. And I don't see how people can be agreeable, which is all about empathy and peacemaking, but then be two-faced and backstabbing. No, sorry, Ganesha. And yeah, I'm fighting back because you kind of just said, like, yeah, all Geminis are psychopathic serial killers. They'll betray you, and they're also going to murder you and eat your brains. No, nothing wrong with us here. So, about sugarcoating things with lies and spread it to make others because it's interesting for them. Sugarcoating things. Very relevant to what we said earlier about the playbook. This is a big thing. Geminis know what they want, so yeah, they're gonna sugarcoat things. Maybe even me. Okay, me too. Because you don't want to create the eruption immediately, and to approach this with a sense of optimism. Some decisions are better made with a scalpel rather than a sledgehammer. It's not always a bad thing to sugarcoat anything. And I would like to thank everybody for listening to this first episode of Astro Psych 400. And somebody asked me on Black Box Online Radio, is this was the title for this channel inspired by a White Zombie song? I think it was Super Strike 9 who said that, and the answer to that is no. The reason why I chose the title for this channel is because my uncle took a class in college called Astronomy 400. It was a big story of the family reunions growing up, and he liked astronomy, he liked the stars, and he didn't do any of the prior courses, Astronomy 100 and so on, so he got this override, and then they put him in Astronomy 400, and it had like nothing to do with stargazing. It was all about multivariable calculus and using large matrices and so on. And it was really, really flipping tough. But he kept at it, he kept trying, and he got an A in the course. And it's like an old family story about Astronomy 400, and this isn't astronomy and it's not really psychology, so it's Astro Psych 400. It's kind of like a the little engine that could sort of story. So it's kind of a personal meaning and so on. But thank you for listening to this episode. And these things are going to come out in different orders. I mean, they're not going to be done in any type of chronological or astronomical order, if I'm using that word correctly, astrological order. But there are going to be full videos in this series. And if you haven't done so already, feel free to like and subscribe and follow along with any of these discussions. And if you think that everything that I have said is wrong, put your ideas in the comments section below. Challenge me. Tell me why it's wrong. Share anything that you want. And one more time, feel free to visit Black Box Online Radio here on YouTube to hear more about serial killers and the Zodiac Killer and all of that stuff. Alright, that's all for me now. I'm going to try out this remote trigger to stop the show. I think it's still going. Oh, holding it upside down, maybe that's why. That's a piece of garbage. Get my money back from Amazon, old-fashioned way. I'll see you guys next time.